Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at the fall of mankind. Now, in order to understand the fall of mankind, in order to have a truly intelligent conversation about the fall of mankind, something that's this profound, there are two things we need to understand. Number one is that there are two ways to make a mistake, and number two is we have to understand that there are three stages of knowledge on the right path, where we start with knowledge, we satisfy our needs, we make good applications, and we end up in paradise, which is a place where we don't have any problems within our control because we're satisfying our needs. And then there are three stages of knowledge on the wrong path, where we start our journey off in life with false knowledge, and that allows us to make the mistakes in the second stage of knowledge, and that's how we manifest the dark ages that we have right now. This is how we lost our golden age, is when the fall of mankind occurred. Now, we have to understand that the fall of mankind is an event that happened long ago, but it's also an event that's happening today. So this is how there are two ways to make a mistake. The way we're making a mistake now is because our ancestors made a mistake and they fell in love with it and they got addicted to it and they ran to denial like all good addicts do, and they passed it on down to their children, and now it's part of our tradition. So that's how we start our journey off in life, on the wrong path with false knowledge. We're in this cave of ignorance, in Plato's cave. We're in a cave of ignorance. We have false knowledge. And that's the number one reason why we can't find the knowledge we need, because we can't learn anything when we think we already know. So the number one problem with knowledge is we don't have the knowledge of how to live. And the number one reason why we can't find it is we got this false knowledge in its place. And if we have false knowledge in the first stage of knowledge and we apply that, we end up making a mistake. So that's one way we can make a mistake. But there's another way we can make a mistake, and that's whenever we don't apply what we know. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. Either we willingly didn't do it, or something happened and we couldn't do it. We don't know what happened long ago, but we do know that something happened. And I'm convinced what it was, what happens. And you can go to, I'm going to start using piece numbers. Click down below if you want to know more about this. I identified all the piece numbers in the Ultimate Schematic. I did a quick 20-minute video showing where they're all at, but then I did a 11-part video series called The Ultimate Solution, where I identified all the pieces. So I'm going to be talking about pieces 46 and 95 and 103 in just a moment. And you can go to the specific parts of those videos and say, oh, he's talking about piece 46 here. You can hear more about what I talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it now. So this is how we recreate the fall of mankind right now. We start off with false knowledge, identify that as piece 46. Now, piece 46 is relative to piece 36. You see, there are 5 things we mastered. Those are pieces 36 to 40. And then there are 5 false beliefs about these things we mastered, and those are pieces 46 to 50. So 46 is our false belief that cooking is an art, when it's actually a sin. It's the original sin. So piece 36 is our false belief that cooking is an art, when it's actually the original sin. In fact, if you read Bill Bright's book, The Transforming Power of Fasting and Prayer, Bishop Carlton Pearson says that the word for fasting literally means to cover the mouth. That sin came into this world through our mouths, through eating. So it wasn't an apple, my friends, it was the cooked food. And now we have this false belief that it's an art. Look at all these stupid TV shows. We look at people who cook as they're chefs and they're artists, and there's an art of cooking, and it's not. It's the original sin. So that's piece 36. And then we end up with piece 95. That's cooked food. That is the fall of mankind as far as the event goes. Currently, if I say what's the fall of mankind, well, it's the art of cooking, it's cooked food, and then it's hell. It's the dark ages. That's what we manifest. We got hundreds of thousands of problems that are within our control. And I label that piece 103. So if we're going to solve our problems, the first thing we have to do is identify our problems as being within our control or outside of control. So that's what I did with the Ultimate Schematic. What are our problems? That's the first thing we have to answer. What is a problem? Well, problem is a negative effect, or it's in the third stage of knowledge on the wrong path. It's what we got by making mistakes because we had false knowledge. So when we look at what we got, we have 103. Those are problems based on our lifestyle choices and making bad applications. The 5 bad applications are 95 to 99. And then whenever we don't satisfy our needs, that would be pieces 81 to 94. And actually, piece 83 would be food. So pieces 83.1 to 83.5 is the same as 95 to 99. I didn't want to label them as sub-pieces. I wanted to give them whole numbers because they're too important. So piece 95 is the fall of mankind, but how did we get there? Well, now it's because of 36. But how did it happen? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Let's work backwards first, because I want to get back there. So we look at our problems, and they're either 103 within our control, 104 outside of control. The problem is we don't have the wisdom to know the difference. That's the problem. We have false knowledge about how to live. We have false knowledge about what to do when we get sick. When we have these problems, we're told that you go to the doctor because they're outside your control, but that's a lie. See, this is the problem. Most of our problems are within our control. And what we need to do if we have heart disease or cancer or diabetes or arthritis or migraine headaches or any type of headache, we got to think, we got to consider the possibility, but maybe we are doing something. It doesn't trace back to 100, which are things outside of our control, things done to us. It's the 81 to 99, especially the 95 to 99. Those are the 5 bad applications to the 5 things we mastered. And then especially 95, because that's the fall of mankind. If it wasn't for piece 95, we wouldn't have made the other bad applications. We wouldn't be eating animals. We wouldn't be eating grains. We wouldn't be processing our foods. We wouldn't be using chemicals. So currently, the event we have to understand now is 36, 95, 103. And if we have 103s or any problems, and if we don't have the wisdom to know the difference, let's work backwards anyway and let's look at what we do. And then we got to work backwards one more time and look at what we think. Look at our belief system. That's in the first stage of knowledge. What is the knowledge we've acquired? Well, currently, our parents are teaching us the same mistakes they were taught. So we're just passing down those same mistakes. That's what creates a cesspool inside of us, and that's how we get disconnected. Now, how did it all happen? What is the original fall of mankind? Again, what happened is if we go back up into the plus A box of knowledge, what we have is 12 essential needs. Piece 24 is our need for natural food. And then we got pieces 36 to 40. Those are the 5 things we mastered. Piece 36 is fire. So we got in trouble when we took one of the things we mastered and applied it to something we need. See, all new knowledge, all the things we master has the potential for evil wherever we apply it to something we need. This is how we opt out of nature. That's the whole concept of the fall of mankind. We opted out of nature. We did something. So we need to know what we did so we can correct it. If you look at Buddhism's 8-fold path, the first step you must take is to clearly see what is wrong. As Dr. Phil would say, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So one of the most important pieces of the puzzle to realize after we accept the possibility that some of these problems might be within our control is what are we doing? What could be the mistake we're making so we can correct it? And then to figure that out, we got to look at our belief system. What are we being told? And then how did it all start? Well, we took something we mastered, piece 36. Piece 36 applied to 24. We slid down piece 109. I explained that in the ultimate schematic. And that's the other way we can make a mistake. So there are 2 ways to make a mistake. One is you can take false knowledge and apply it. Or you can not apply what you know, or take something you master and apply it to something you need, in which case you're no longer satisfying your need. You're not going from the plus A box to the plus B box. You're not satisfying your needs. You're not making good applications. You're making a bad application. So that's the other way we can make a mistake. Now the question is, why did we do that? What made us try something different? Who knows and who cares? Yes, it'd be nice to know what it was so we wouldn't do it again, but do we need to know that to get out of this cave of ignorance and back into paradise? No, we don't. What we need to know is not what's in the first stage of knowledge as far as how it all started. You know, again, there's 2 things we need to know about the fall of mankind. One is there's 2 ways to make the mistake. And one of the ways we made the mistake is how it all started. When we can only speculate what it was, it could have been a catastrophe and we didn't have a choice in the matter. We had to cook our food. We're opportunistic eaters. We do what we have to do. And it might have been other factors that did it. But the point here also we need to understand is just because I think of something doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I'm not discounting the importance of thoughts, because if I think about doing something every day, day after day, there's a good chance I'll end up doing it, because thoughts do create our reality. But I could think about coming out here this afternoon and mowing all this beautiful vegetation down. And if you come out tomorrow and I film, guess what you're going to see? It's still going to be there because I'm not going to do it. I just thought about it. So it's not an automatic. Our thoughts do not automatically become our actions. And that's part of our problem, because knowledge is worthless unless we apply it. That's why I say there's 2 doorways we have to go through. First doorway is to break away from this false knowledge and find the knowledge we need, but we got to go through the second doorway because it's not an automatic. Just because we got that knowledge doesn't mean we apply it. In fact, that's how it all started. Remember, we didn't apply what we knew. So we didn't go through that second doorway where we apply what we know. And then once you get into the cause box, or the second stage of knowledge, it is an automatic. Cause and effect, it's an automatic. If I come out here this afternoon and mow this down, and I come out here tomorrow and film again, guess what you're going to see? You're going to see the results. Because I did it. I thought it, I did it, and there are the results. But I'm not going to do it. I thought about it, so thoughts do not automatically create actions. Oh, but if you think about lusting for a woman and you just soon did it. Well, come on. Does that really matter? Our actions are what really matters. And of course I understand the concept here. But then you have to also understand why we have all these horrible thoughts. We're living in hell. All of us are. Even if we individually get reconnected, we still have to put up with the fact that everyone else is disconnected. So no man is an island. The individual cannot escape the collective. So it's as long as the vast majority of us are disconnected on this planet, we're all going to suffer. We're all going to struggle, no matter how well we do everything, because we live in a sick world. So we can change that, and that's the whole point I'm trying to get at here. First step, you must clearly see what is wrong. Cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And currently, what we have to change is our belief system. We got to stop thinking that cooking is an art. We got to look at it as what it is. It's the original sin. It's what creates the second stage of knowledge, cooking in the second stage of knowledge. So, as I mentioned, in order to discuss anything intelligently, you have to be explicit. You have to use all three stages of knowledge and recognize all three stages, and whether or not you're on the same path with someone else or you're on different paths. So, to illustrate my point, for example, do some research on people quoting about good and evil, and then study my three stages of knowledge, and then identify what the person is saying. And what you're going to find, most people are going to be going second stage, third stage, second stage, third stage. And you'll see some go first stage, third stage, first stage, third stage. But I only found one person so far that goes first stage, second stage, third stage. Spinoza. Do it. Do what I'm talking about, and now you can see the problem that we have when we try to have a conversation. If you're going to talk about the fall of mankind, are you talking about the first event or the one that's happening right now? If you're talking about the one that's happening right now, it's 36, 95, 103. If you want to talk about how it started, it was 36 to 24, 109 to 95. So there's two ways to get 95. Either we have false knowledge, which is what we're doing now, or somehow we didn't apply what we knew. We got creative. Who knows what we did? Doesn't really matter. Yes, it'd be nice to make sure we didn't repeat that mistake, but it's not needed to figure it out. So I'm convinced, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the mistake that we made, that made us disconnected, that made us lose our golden age, is cooking our food. And the great thing about what I've concluded after 26 years of extensive research and analysis is I'm constantly finding things that reinforce my beliefs. And I know that sounds like classic cognitive bias, but it's not, because I look at everything. I'm willing to change all of my beliefs at the drop of the hat if you can convince me. But right now, the information I have is clear as can be. And one of the books I've read recently, back in 2013, there were a couple of chapters that just blew me away. Because the guy who wrote the book knew nothing whatsoever about raw food or biophotons, but he researched the fall of mankind and the golden age, and he really looked into paradise, the myth, and everything in depth. And he reported what he found. And if he only knew what I knew, he would be going, oh my God, the fall is cooking our food. It fits, it fits, it fits. Why? Because cooking destroys the biophotons. It destroys the connection. So in this book, he talks about losing our connection with the divine and how to get reconnected, we need to purify the body and get reconnected. I mean, he's using those exact words. And that's what I'm saying. We got to purify the body. We got to get rid of that serpent, Beelzebub, that's inside of our body, that pollutes our blood. We got to bump up the biophotons, which is how we lost our connection. And again, if you look at every culture on this planet, they all tell the same story. We lost our connection to the divine. We did something. What could it be? Well, the answer is obvious. It's cooking our food. It destroys the biophotons. That's what makes us feel connected. Why can't why can't most people put those two together? Probably because they're addicted to cooked food, or they've got this stupid belief system that's got them convinced that it was something about our disobedience, and they get them stuck up in the first stage of knowledge, not acknowledging how important the actual mistake was. It's not what goes in that defiles the body, it's what comes out. It does too defile the body if you put shit inside your body. How can you make a stupid statement like that and expect anybody to take you seriously? My God, I'll get that thrown at me so many times. Please don't quote the Bible about it. What goes in doesn't defile the body, because it does. How can you be so stupid to make a comment like that? What comes out defiles us too. But why do you think something's coming out of us that ain't any good? Because what's going in ain't any good. If you defile the temple, will be destroyed. I love what Reverend George Malcolm said when I went to listen to him talk back in the early 90s. He said, I was a Baptist preacher for 25 years. I was going through the Bible. But the Bible wasn't going through me. Wasn't until I adhered to the Genesis 1:29 diet that I realized the temple ain't the church, it's my body. Because when I went to God's diet, every problem I had went away within 1 year. So it took him 25 years in having this epiphany that we're eating the wrong food, that made him realize that it does matter what goes into the temple. Remember, if you look at all spiritual practices, what we have is the body, mind, spirit, and at the base every time is the body. So that's the foundation. Everybody focuses on the spirit at the top. Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? But what if the base, the foundation, is not solid? Well, you can't separate the body, the mind, and the spirit. They're all connected. So if we don't have a solid base, everything else isn't going to be solid. So it really does begin with what we eat. Because when we cook our food, we lose our connection from the divine. Now we got the wrong mentality. Now we got the status quo keeping us where we are. So what's the solution? Well, you got to stop eating cooked food, but that's a hard thing to do. I believe the best way to do this is to do a juice fast or a juice feast or a solid food vacation. I have a link down below in the description box. You can go to a seminar I did. First, listen to the Dr. Roba interview. Watch me on the Deborah Duncan Show with 6 of my students. You can see the before and after pictures. One woman lost varicose veins in 60 days. Another woman lost a bunion in 90 days, and those are minor and cosmetic. But another guy had gout that went away. Another woman was bedridden for 5 years with fibromyalgia. Within 1 week, she was on TV saying, look at me now. So this is powerful, powerful information. We shouldn't cook our food. People are in a major state of denial. Our belief systems, everywhere we go, trick us into not accepting that the fall of mankind is something we did. When you look at the fall of mankind, there's 3 stages of knowledge we have to consider. But the one that matters is our actions. What are we doing that we have to change? Remember, we must clearly see what is wrong. What are we doing? And what is our belief system telling us? Cooking is not an art, it's a sin. It's the original sin. Because that's what makes us cook our food. That's what makes us lose our connection to the divine. And that's how we end up losing our golden age. Now, what I'd like to do for just a few moments, I went on and read part of that book I was telling you about a little while ago. It's something I read back in 2013. I'm only going to play about 2 minutes of this. But I wanted you to listen to what I read that confirmed what I'm saying. And keep in mind, this guy doesn't know anything about raw food, doesn't know anything about biophotons. And I'm not even going to read the whole chapter, but it's so exciting because all throughout the description of what these ancient people were saying, they were describing biophotons in every way. I mean, it fits every reference it fits, and there's about a dozen references. I'm just going to play the first 2 minutes. So I did this before, and y'all were kind enough to listen to it. So I'm going to just bring this up for a moment and let y'all listen to this and then I'll finish and make a comment afterwards. But let me just go ahead and play what I taped this morning. So here we go. Hang on.
Memories and Visions of Paradise, Exploring the Universal Myth of a Lost Golden Age by Richard Heinberg, published in 1989. The Fall and the Origins of Human Evil, the saddest story. What is evil? Is evil suffering or the cause of suffering? In either case, evil may be said to be inherent in nature, in predation, decay, disease, and famine. Yet people in every culture and in every age have held to the belief that in the human world there exists another kind of evil that is profoundly unnatural. We may look to nature for the source of human tendencies toward waste, warfare, greed, and the restless urges to possess, dominate, and kill, but no clear analogy suggests itself. Nature's evils tend to exist in balance, predation and famine mitigating overpopulation, whereas the human version of evil apparently knows no bounds. From the earliest times, human beings have believed that there is a quality in themselves that sets them apart from the animals, a quality that manifests itself as a sense of alienation and insufficiency, and as an abnormal capacity for destructiveness and cruelty. Ancient peoples insisted that evil in this latter sense has not always existed, but that it had a specific cause. In their myths, the evil that is unique to humanity is described as having resulted from the fall, the tragic events that brought the Golden Age to an end. They said that human nature is not natural at all because it has been distorted by some fundamental mistake or failure that has been perpetuated from generation to generation. Every religion begins with the recognition that human consciousness has been separated from the divine source, that a former sense of oneness with the ground of being has been lost, and that only a process of purification and transcendence can we be reconnected with the sacred dimension, whether it is the Judaic.
Okay, so that was Richard Heinberg. As you can see, every culture talks about this. We're making mistakes, fundamental mistakes, and we're passing it down from generation to generation, and it's been going on for 3,000 generations. That's how long we've been cooking our food. And what does cooking our food do? It destroys the biophotons. That's how we lost our connection with the divine. We lost one of our senses. This is why there's something wrong with this. Why do we do the horrible things we do? Why do we have a dark side to our behavior? It's not part of our DNA. It's not part of our nature. It's unnatural, as all these cultures have pointed out. We did something that created another type of evil. We are the enemy, but we're also the ones that we're waiting for. We could turn all of this around again if we just understood what the actual mistake was. Don't get lost in the first stage of knowledge thinking it had something to do with our disobedience and our willpower or whatever. That doesn't solve any problems. If you think you know what the fall of mankind is, ask yourself this question. Does my answer solve any problems? Does this get us out of this hell we're in? And if you're in the first stage of knowledge, the only way it can get you out is if you recognize that the cooking is not an art. That's the only way we can get out of if you're going to be in the first stage of knowledge. Don't focus on how it happened. That's what everybody sees. It's a trick. This is what the rulers of the world do. They trick us. We're so easily tricked and fooled. But if you have a schematic like I have, I can identify where all the pieces are at, and I can show you how you're being tricked. Is that you don't want to focus on how the fall happened, because that doesn't keep us from figuring out how to correct it. It isn't inevitable. We don't have some sort of flaw in our system. The problem we have, I identified it. I called it piece number 9 in my 6-box system, the ultimate schematic. That's where we have a combination of a neocortex and a reptilian brain. It all started 2 million years ago when our reptilian brain doubled in size. That's what allowed us to master 5 things that we mastered and make these 5 bad applications. So there's 11 main events. First one, our brilliant brain. It's what got us in trouble. We're able to master things we never mastered before, but we lack the wisdom, and we eventually made some bad applications. And the problem with making a bad application is we also have a reptilian brain that can get addicted to anything that's pleasurable. You see, that's what got us in trouble. It's the battle between the brains, as I've mentioned before, and then there's a battle between our senses. Our taste buds are defeating our sixth sense. And our reptilian brain is defeating our neocortex. But you know what? With the neocortex, we can overcome this amygdalosis, where the reptilian brain is in charge, if we think about something to come up with a game plan. Sure, we have this knee-jerk reflex with the reptilian brain, but we have this brilliant brain that can get us out of the hell we're in. So I also say that we can turn everything around if we use our brilliant brain and the herd mentality. Right now, our brilliant brain got us in trouble, and the herd mentality is getting us headed for an iceberg or off the cliff. But we can use those two same concepts, that brilliant brain, take one of the things we mastered in machines, let's do that, and modify a water fast, do a juice fast. That's my first step. And then if we can get enough people to do this to reach a tipping point, we're herd animals, but if we can be the trim tabs of society, turn the rudder on the rudder, we can turn the ship, and our whole species will go a different direction. We get back up into paradise. So there's a simple solution to solve our problems if we just recognize what we have to do or what we're doing wrong. Remember Buddhism's eightfold path. Step number one, we must clearly see what is wrong. What is wrong? We have false knowledge. We're making mistakes. And we have problems that are within our control, but we've been lied to and we think they're outside our control. So, how do we know if a problem's within our control or not? It's simple. Do the first of my three-step process. And what you're going to do is you're going to correct these 5 main mistakes on a temporary basis. And the chances are you probably don't believe that they're all mistakes, and you're going to maybe want to keep making them after you finish, but you don't want to think too far ahead of yourself, because once you go through this process, once you do my first step for the appropriate length of time, you'll have a brand new reference, and you're going to think about everything totally differently. And then at that point you can reconsider whether or not you want to go back and do something that might be a mistake. And if you go long enough and you make that mistake, your body will let you know. That's why this is the best preparation for a better way of life. Give your body a chance to see what it's missing, and then reestablish your feedback system. Reestablish the allostatic taste change. We've lost our natural instincts. Now we're under this hunger spell. And all this can change if we correct these 5 main mistakes. So there's 3 ways to correct these 5 main mistakes. 2 of them most people aren't willing to do. The third one is my first step. It's the only one I'm convinced enough of us will do so we can get everyone's attention. All we have to do is correct the mistakes. It doesn't matter if you do a water fast and eat raw food or whatever, but you gotta stop cooking your food. And since that's so hard, best place to start is with a juice fast. Go down below, click on to my seminar, listen to the Dr. Roby interview, see me on the Deborah Duncan Show, and I guarantee you, my friends, when you do this, you're in for a treat.